A few days back, on the 4th of July, Facebook founder Mark Zuckerberg posted a family picture on Instagram with emojis covering the faces of his two daughters. Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates and his wife Melinda Gates did not allow their three children to have a mobile until they turned 14 years. But even after that, their use was strictly limited. YouTube CEO Suzanne Wojcicki, in her words, takes away her children's phones entirely during vacations in an effort to focus on being present. Why am I telling you all this? Well, that's because in its latest Global Education Monitor report, the UNESCO has urged schools across the world to ban smartphones in classes. The report emphasizes the need for a human-centered vision where digital technology serves as a tool rather than taking precedence. Digital technology should not substitute face-to-face interaction with teachers. It also says there is little evidence on digital technology's added value in education and the fact that technology has opened up opportunities for learners with disabilities. The report also hails online learning for not stopping education from melting down during COVID-19 school closures. But it also talks about digital technology's detrimental impact and how technology may reinforce existing inequality in both access to as well as the production of content. Now remember, during COVID lockdowns, we all remember how online was the only platform through which our children could have access to their syllabus, tests, interactions and knowledge. But how effective was it, and has the digital dependence been normalized in the post-COVID times? According to the International Telecommunication Union, during the COVID-19 pandemic, internet user ranks grew to 4.9 billion in 2021 from 4.1 billion in 2019. The frequency of smartphone use increased, accompanied by an increase in sedentary behavior and a decrease in physical activity during COVID. And it has now almost become a habit or a routine. Let me also now take you through the pros and the cons of using tech in education. The pros include the fact that digital devices offer a wealth of interactive resources that are probably not available in traditional textbooks. Videos, animations, and simulations can all be used to help students understand complex concepts, while quizzes and games can be used to reinforce learning and make it more engaging. By experience, it is also beneficial for the differently able students, those suffering from social anxiety or who may miss school for a variety of reasons. Now, what about the cons? The cons include the potential for digital devices to distract students from their studies. Social media, games, and other online distractions can quickly take over, leading to a decrease in productivity and learning outcomes. In fact, lack of privacy laws to protect children's data is also one of the biggest concerns in the online world. Too much time with digital devices disconnects students from face-to-face social activities, family communications, and nature. But in the Industry 4.0 era that we all live in, where artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, and machine learning are part of our everyday life, how do we know what's harmful for our children and what's needed for her education? On the one hand, there are fun apps through which a child sitting in a remote part of the country can access knowledge or learn a social skill or an interpersonal skill, which otherwise probably might have not been available for her. On the other hand, there is the concern of deepfake, which can morph your face and voice and misuse it. So where do we draw the line? Let's take a look at the psychological impact of smartphones as well. Smartphones can often be a cause of distraction, we all know that. Spending long hours in front of the screens negatively affects a child's mental health, leading to issues such as sleep deprivation, stress, and mental distress. Negative social comparisons, experiences of low self-esteem and embarrassment, the constant need for updates, and we all know that because we all use social media, and prolonged screen time can all contribute to stress and self-esteem issues for children. Now, interestingly, the UN education body's suggestion of a smartphone ban is already followed in 7 countries. And which are those countries? France, the Netherlands, Colombia, Italy, Bangladesh, Singapore, and China. Now, what are the rules in Indian schools? Well, there is no clear or uniform countrywide law as of now. However, states and schools can make up their own policies. In June last year, for example, Tamil Nadu Education Minister banned phones from schools. Some schools in Kolkata allowed students to bring phones to schools but restricted them from using it to make calls or browse social media. The digital revolution holds immeasurable potential, but just as warnings have been voiced for how it should be regulated in society, similar attention must be paid to the way it is used in education. Let me begin this rather important and often ignored discussion with my guests tonight. I'm joined by Mr. Manos Antoninis, the Director of the Global Education Monitoring Report. Welcome to you. He's from the UNESCO. Priyansh Rawat, the Class 9 student of Delhi World Public School, also joins us tonight. Anubha Srivastav Sahai, President of India White Parents Association, joins us. And Dr. Preeti Ojha, Principal of Delhi Public School, Dwarka Expressway, joins us, as well as Gitanjali Kumar, who's a psychologist, and she's also on the panel of the CBSE Helpline Counselors. She also joins us tonight. Welcome to all my panelists, all my guests. Thank you very much for joining us. First to you, Manos, we've seen this report and you've, stated all the concerns regarding children using the online platform, not just in education, but otherwise. But what led you to this kind of a report, and what have been your findings?
Good evening. Thank you so much for the invitation. The report is a report on global progress towards the global education goal. It's what we call Sustainable Development Goal 4. But this year in particular, we looked on technology, and I have really enjoyed your titles, Swipe Left on Screen Addiction. That's actually exactly how we came about our recommendations. We have 4 recommendations, which of course acknowledge that technology is necessary in today's world. But we urge governments, when they make decisions about investing in technology in education, to ask themselves 4 questions. And they are using the arrows that you have in mind. The arrow going down is this use of technology appropriate? In the sense that, is it relevant to the context of the students? You cannot have the same context in the United States and in India. But also, is it leading to learning? A question that unfortunately is not being asked enough, sometimes not even at all. The second arrow is the left arrow, looking backwards. Is the use of technology leaving some students behind? And we can talk about COVID. Yes, many benefited, but many more were actually left outside. Then there is the arrow looking up. Is the use of technology scalable? Many of the examples we know are quite small scale in specific contexts. Can we actually take the cost of delivering technology for everyone? That's a big question in the short term. But then that's the 4th question we have. Is the use of technology in education sustainable? That means there are also long-term costs. You mentioned many of those long-term costs, social costs related to privacy, related to well-being, related to safety, but also, let's not forget, related to the environment. Imagine what it would mean if everyone had devices and using them for education. That might be the dream of some providers of technology, but in environmental terms, energy, material consumption, that could be really, really very, very worrying. So there are 4 questions we are asking, and I can tell you about the phones in particular. The phone question comes under the issue of, is it appropriate? Is having a phone in the classroom
All right, we'll try and reconnect with Manos. Let me also go across to somebody who has experienced the online world in education more than all of us sitting here, and that is Priyansh Rawat. Priyansh, good evening. Hi. I'm sure you've had your whole experience of learning and getting taught online during the COVID time. First, share with us how was the experience? How much did you learn? Was it helpful? Or did you miss going to school, interacting with your friends and, being in the classroom and learning there physically present in the classroom?
Evening. Thank you for inviting me to the channel. I would say that online school during the COVID era was a double edged sword. Half of it was that it was so easy to understand concepts, and every single student was able to learn what the teacher had said clearly. It was good to be able to study while we are in our home while there's a major crisis going outside. Though I did really miss going and meeting my friends, meeting my teachers. There is a personal connection when you learn from teachers in schools and buildings rather than in phones.
Okay. All right. Let me now get Dr. Preeti Ojha, Principal, Delhi Public School. Dr. Preeti Ojha, as principal, as teachers, as educators, what was your experience during the COVID time and post-COVID time as well? Are we still depending on gadgets, on the online platforms to teach our kids, or have we moved away from it? How much of interdependence exists right now, and how much did it help during the COVID time?
Much for inviting me. I'm glad I'm associated with this topic. I think during the lockdown period, it became a necessity. And that time, we felt that connecting with children and school was essential. And we could do it easily with lots of children. Some of them still couldn't be connected because of various scarcity in resources and various other issues that we kept going through 17 months. But when I saw children coming back to school, there was a huge change in the way they were perceiving sitting in the same classroom. They were wanting to have a gadget, they wanted to go closer to technology, they were more addicted to the information that they can fetch on their own through a tool rather than having a peer interaction, talking to children, talking to teachers, researching from books, reading something and finding your own information. So, somewhere I found that thinking skill to design something as an evolution for the citizens or for the country in future is lacking. They want more time with technology, which I saw was also happening at home. When children came to the school, I saw most of them very sleepy. They were not sleeping adequate. One. Second, I saw them very distracted. They were feeling very uneasy, anxious, and worried because something was missing in their hand. I found through various researchers also that usually now after lockdown, children and adults were looking at the mobile 6 times an hour, which was in general count, and go back on your work after that 1 minute of seeing the mobile was 0.454 seconds. So coming back to your work was also a distraction for children. I could see that their diet was not happening the way they were expected to do. I could see they were not socializing, not playing, going outside, was restricted by themselves. Their willingness was to play more on a mobile. Their tool had become an addiction, which I feel is not right at all. Fortunately, our school, DPS Dwarka Expressway, absolutely has no use of mobile in the classroom. We're working more towards the mental health. We're wanting more schools to urge for mental health and grooming of the parents also. Because children are using mobile also because they can see their parents using it because of official work. I think that modeling has also allowed them to isolate to this gadget and made their lives easier to fetch and to do a lot of information work on that tool. So I think earlier, before lockdown, the usage of technology was to help and ease down the effort of doing some work. But after lockdown, I see they are more addicted and dependent, which is not right for their thinking, writing, speaking. And especially at the age in the school scenario where the building wants them to make sure they're glued to the kind of curriculum they're supposed to go ahead throughout these years, foundational years to the age group of 18. They're supposed to have some very major skills required to exist without technology after school. So that's missing, which I can see a lot of times in the school scenario nowadays, for which we are working very hard.
Okay. Okay, Anubha Srivastav, let me also get you in as a parent, as somebody who also talks and interacts with lots of parents on a daily basis. Did you also have the same kind of experience, children feeling sleepy, being addicted, and not really developing the kind of wholesome skills that they develop when they meet other kids and socialize and develop interpersonal skills as compared to when they were being educated online?
Yeah, thank you for having me here. And this is a very important topic actually. And we have been discussing with a lot of parents and students also on this issue. And even government recently, when our PM did that Pariksha Pe Charcha, and he was also quite concerned about the mobile phone addiction among children. And he also suggested students and even parents how to deal with such a problem. And since there are no guidelines in our country, especially for use of mobile phones in schools, so that's why many of the schools are not forcing or not stopping any children to use the mobile phone inside the school premises. But yes, there are some private schools. In government school, I don't know whether it is allowed or not. But yes, there are some private schools. They are strictly not allowing a mobile phone inside the school premises. But many other schools, they do allow. So I think as we have discussed and other panelists have also discussed, and now in UNESCO report is also out that how the use of mobile phone among students can hamper their future education, can hamper their mental health. And even WHO 2-3 years back has come up with this report that use of mobile phones among students and among children, addiction to mobile phone is a kind of mental disorder. So we have to deal with it. If we will not do it now, then few years down the line, our children are going to suffer. So I think this is a high time. This is high time that government and all the stakeholders should come forward. And what UNESCO has suggested and appealed to all the schools across the globe to not allow mobile phones inside school premises, that should be practiced and that should be encouraged. And government, like some 5 or 6 countries, as told by Mirror now just now, that around 4 to 5 countries have banned mobile phones in the school premises. So I think even our country should also start such kind of initiative. Child Rights Commission should intervene in this matter, and NCPCR, the National Commission for Protection of Child Rights, should coordinate with all the stakeholders, all the state governments, all the commissions, Child Rights Commission across India in different states, and they should come up with some guideline for students in school whether to use how to use the mobile phone inside school premises.
Right.
And there should be limited use, maybe for emergency.
Yeah.
Yeah, for emergency, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was coming to, Anubha. That there are concerns of parents regarding their safety. Yeah. Regarding their safety, and parents want to be in touch with their kids. They go to their tuitions, they go to their extracurricular activities, and those are the times in between when they want to ensure that the child is safe.
I agree. I agree to that. See, what we can do is that instead of smartphone, if we can provide normal phones to the small children, especially, then that can be encouraged. Not smartphones, because once you are giving smartphone to students or children, they are addicted and they are open to all kind of information, and that should not be permitted. At least there should be some guideline that smartphones should not be permitted. Normal mobile phones should be permitted inside school, but that too only for some, like in my school where my child goes, they have this concept where the students can bring mobile. In case of emergency, if they want to call, they have to submit the mobile phones in the classroom or to the class teacher. That can be done. In case of emergency, definitely parents can be approachable. But see, a few years back, there was no such demand for any mobile phone in schools. All of a sudden, in last 2 years, I have seen that after COVID, the use of mobile phone has increased, and now even it is very difficult for parents also to control now. Children are demanding, students are demanding new gadgets, new smartphones, and it is becoming very difficult. Even many parents call me and tell me that it is not possible for us to now stop children from using mobile phones because schools are only entertaining. So I think that it is high time that there is a need for some regulation in our country, where the use of smartphone should be not permitted. Even if it is permitted, then there should be some guidelines that
Okay.
not smartphones but normal phones should be allowed in case
Okay,
of emergency.
okay, let me get in Gitanjali Kumar also. Right. Okay, let me also get Gitanjali Kumar also into this discussion. Gitanjali, you've heard everybody, and we also know, we've seen around us, we've heard stories of children getting addicted, the harmful effects of the online world on a child's mind, the kind of mental health issues that it creates, serious mental health issues. It might start from social anxiety and depression, but it might lead to other serious extreme disorders of the mind. How do you see this whole picture? On the one hand, we are living in a digital era where we can't do without our phones. As adults, we can't do without our phones. The kids see us all the time using our laptops, iPads, phones. We're working through them. They also see their friends. There's a peer group which is using, the latest phone. They have the latest app. Some sort of fun is happening on that. How do you restrict your child, or how do you at least explain to your child that it is, harmful for her and she needs to balance it out?
Thank you so much for raising such a pertinent issue. See, we've always heard that it requires a village to raise a child. So perhaps as responsible adults in the life of a child, we'll all have to rise up to the call today that definitely the technology cannot be banished out of our lives, but can we learn to use it with virtue? Can we be more wise in using it? And can we teach our children the lessons of moderation? When, where, how much? And as I've heard my panelists, the role modeling of the adults would be very, very important. We need to ban it, okay, for some time, but banning it will not be an ultimate solution. Somewhere a judicious blend which our children have to learn, that also needs to be taught to our children. Yes, NCPCR needs to come up. NCPCR has already done a research survey. The survey is there which talks about all the ill effects. All of us know it, but adults are the ones who give the phone to the child. The child does not go to the market and buy it. In very few cases, a child can dare to do it. So now when the life has turned into a new normal and we are realizing that there are some ill effects of this new normal, so we all with our intellect and wisdom can come up with few original creative ideas where we teach our children that leaving the phone behind will not be a punishment, is not a curse, it's not something which will make them feel as a fish feels when taken out of the water. So if we can have regular practices at home where there are 0 hours, where there is a digital detox, where everybody decides that we go on a holiday, so for those 2 holidays we don't need an iPad for watching films. If films have to be watched, then we can stay at home. We don't need to go for a vacation. We are going out for a vacation. We need the phones
but
are there for our
Gitanjali
connectivity.
Kumar, when we go on vacations, parents themselves want to put out the latest photos on Instagram and share them with their friends on Facebook. How do we sort of reduce that? Because that obviously is translating and reflecting on our children as well.
That's exactly what I say, that we adults will have to rise up to the call. We will have to realize that we will have to walk that talk. Why are we bringing our private world into the public? Are we so callous enough that for that instant gratification, that fun and thrill of showing the dish which I've ordered, how does it look? The food I've cooked, how does it look? We are all seeking so much of social validations, and at what price? So somewhere some amount of self-awareness, introspection needs to be done at the adult's end, so that we realize that there is no fun in doing that. The pictures of the family we are putting on a public portal, on a virtual medium, it's actually risking the privacy of the child and the family. So, as adults, if we can actually
Yeah,
realize
yeah.
this
Okay.
and abstain from it, now the thing is that it's become a habit for us. So, there are a lot of withdrawals and symptoms which we'll be seeing in us. So, that 1 hour when I don't see my mobile, what am I going to do with the FOMO? The FOMO plays havoc in my mind,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
fear of that FOMO does not let me practice that 1 hour zero session.
Okay, okay. I'm going to come to the warning signs and all of this a bit later. Let me also go across to Manos again. Manos, you know, we know that a few countries have already banned smartphones in classrooms. Uh, how are they doing things differently in an era where smartphones are so normalized, internalized in our daily lives? And what difference have you seen in your research and your work between countries that have banned smartphones in classrooms and countries which are yet to do that or which are not going in that direction?
First of all, let me say that in our research, we have found many more countries than the ones that you listed on screen. 13% of the countries in the world have a law
I'm glad.
that bans the use
Okay.
of phones in schools. Another 14% have policies that ban phones. And altogether, if you add these up, 1 in 4 countries in the world have made such attempts. So it's much more widespread, and that's what attracted our attention. Having said that, it is still very early days to be able to tell whether this is also having a positive effect. What we do know is that research had shown before, leading eventually to the bans, that the use of phones had been negative because of the reasons that you mentioned, the distraction that it was causing. Also, I think it brings into the classroom potential bullying behaviors that you may have in the schoolyard, but actually it comes also into the classroom and during the lesson. So I think it's important to also say that the report acknowledges that technology can help in some contexts for some types of learning, but we also have evidence that excessive use of technology in the classroom is not helping beyond a certain point. In fact, it may even have negative effects. So as the message was before, moderation is very important. We need to avoid addiction, and our understanding of how best to respond will take some time to evolve. Let's also recognize that bans by themselves are often difficult to manage, difficult to implement. There needs to be a dialogue in the school community, in every school community. And I think the message of our report is really there to help school communities have that dialogue. That's the ultimate effect we would like to have on this debate.
Sure, sure. Priyansh, let me come to you. You are somebody who is, of this generation, younger than all of us, and you know the latest tech that is going on, the latest apps. I'm sure you and your friends talk about it. But let me ask you a little secret on television. How much of time do you spend on your mobile? Do you have one? And if you have one, that how much time are you spending on that? And what are you doing on your phone?
I myself, I do have a phone. You were right. And me and my friends often use apps to talk, chat, and play on them. Phones are like a thing, like sport to us now. We have fun on it. We play it outside of school hours. And I agree that it should be regulated during the school hours, but not outright banned. Why so? It should be this. Phones are not just a tool for distraction, they're a tool for knowledge. Phones can be used as millions of books and they can be held in your palm. They are the best source to knowledge. Yet, they can also cause a big distraction by playing the latest games, using the latest apps, using all the new messenger apps, everything. I myself partake in these activities, but I do take most of my time trying to get rid of myself from the distractions caused by the phone and better my life, better how I interact with people, and be better as a person.
Okay, Priyansh, do you also, I'm sure your friends also have phones. Do you, sometimes get that feeling that he or she perhaps has a better phone or is having a much more fun time on his or her phone, and I should be having that too. And, I also need my phone for all of this. Do you have such type of, thoughts in your head?
I believe that everyone, every single student that I know, and every of my friend has this feeling. I myself also sometimes feel that, oh my God, my friend has a better laptop or a better phone than me. I think that, why don't I have this? It's so fun. And I think this causes a little jealousy, and it ruins friendships sometimes. It can be a bad thing for you as a person. I don't think that everyone should judge others on what they have, but who they are as people.
That's very honest and very wise of you, Priyansh. Thank you very much for being so honest and candid on television. Gitanjali Kumar, let me come to you. You know, he talked about how a child feels when he or she sees a friend, a peer group member having probably a more expensive phone, or the use of it is more in their houses and beyond school, and their parents not restricting them to do so. How do you navigate as a parent through such times when your child has such thoughts in his or her head?
I really empathize with the confession that this young man has made in front of the national television channel. But I really am thinking that was it not like this before also? Yes, it perhaps was not for a mobile. When I was a kid, I used to feel it for a pair of shoes, a branded pair of shoes. I used to feel it for a smart dress, which I did not have. My parents did not get it for me. It was for some stationery item. It was definitely the compare and contrast was there earlier also, but yes, now the compare and contrast, the token symbol is the tech gadgets, and it is not only restricted to children, it is even in adults. The adults also want to buy a particular gadget because in their official circle, in their business circle, 5 more people have that. So somewhere we will again have to work on the self-esteem and the self-confidence of an individual, where an individual, whether a young child or an adult, can actually feel that I as an individual is way above with what I possess. My possessions are a small part of me. They don't make me complete. I'm much more beyond my technology gadgets. So if this kind of a realization can be brought among in our homes through family dialogues, through conversations, where we can have rituals and practices, where we sit and go back to our age old games of snakes and ladders and ludo or carom board, where or even playing cards. We are playing tambola and rummy on these through technology. Why can't we play them the way we used to play them earlier at our homes? We used to spend hours doing that.
But
So,
you know, Gitanjali
as I
Kumar,
said
the
earlier,
argument
we
against
will
this
have to
is that
walk our
how
talk.
do we get the child ready for today and the future, because today's age is that of a digital digital age it is, and the future of course also, we are living in an industry 4.0 revolution era where we're seeing artificial intelligence, internet of things, machine learning.
Yes.
All of this is happening. We have coaching classes for coding for kids. Kids who are as young as 5 or 6 years old are starting to get coding classes. With that in mind, how do you prepare a child for future then? I'm going to take this across to Dr. Preeti Ojha. Dr. Ojha, how does one then prepare a child for the future? Because we know, your time was a different time, my time was a different time, and these kids have a different time where they have to be ready for a certain kind of job, for a certain kind of social environment that they're living in. How does a child then prepare for this age?
Happy to hear student talking about his time, his punctuality and discipline. And I'm sure this happens when a very strong decision making capacity is evolved in him. He's talking something where there's a amazing parenting taken place. He knows when to start what and when to stop. I think this discipline pattern has helped him a lot to create that channel of using the technology in the right way. But it's not happening in general with lots of children. Lots of children have a curiosity to use it because of a lot of reasons around us. The schools were using technology, blended learning had come into picture, hybrid learning has come into picture. We teachers have also used technology to teach the students. Now what we have to do is to change the pedagogy, and most of the schools are. We are one of the schools who are changing the pedagogy, where we are trying the children to have more peer attention, to do a lot of work together by learning and teaching each other and understanding what we need. Every time taking the help of technology as a tool to use it to accelerate learning is not that our journey of learning should be. We should make sure that children have lesser use of technology and more happiness and joy doing different kinds of activities for which they are learning. And I think it will start also from the schools. It has already started many places where physical activities, doing a lot of things with experience and experiential learning has come into place. Children are coming together by bringing things together in a team and working. They're using lesser of technology to have more interaction socially with parents, with students, with teachers, and various other people outside the school. Interaction of completing a task is helping them to realize how does a conflict come and how to resolve it. This is one of the major agenda where I'm finding children taking an easy way out by gluing themselves to technology, playing a game with an AI, doing some work with ChatGPT, finding answers, writing lesser, is reducing the potential as a human skill to dictate and make the technology as a slave. They're trying to do things through technology, but unknowingly, everybody today has to realize through UNESCO that they have come up with this information to all of us as a validation, how technology is losing the potential among the children to learn. And at a young age, things should be very
Yeah.
controlled and limited, where it should not go in excess. And here we see, because that tool can be carried anywhere, it is used anywhere inside the house, internet connection is easily available. This gadget is easily seen in younger hands because parents also feel freedom is to be given, let them learn, and that's what we also want. But then how to make sure what to do when is something where adults like teachers, school, and parents come in role. And only one way left is to make sure that they know that what is to be used when, what is the right thing, what is their responsibility to decisions, giving examples, giving them better things to do than technology.
Let me take this point across to Anubha Srivastav. Anubha Srivastav, talking about control and monitoring of the online platforms, the online usage of our children. As parents, most of us are in jobs that are not 9 to 5 nowadays. We have flexible work timings, we have instant work trips, we have so much going on at work that very little time is left even for ourselves, let alone do anything else. In that kind of a scenario, how does a parent ensure that they are restricting their child's online use and also saving her or him from the kind of threats that the online world poses, that of cyberbullying, that of cyber harassment, and all sorts of risks that come with the online platform in case of a child?
True. See, these days parents are quite busy with their jobs and all, and they are hardly getting any time to interact with the family members, with their children. And it is become very difficult now because of the nuclear families. All are because of nuclear families now, elders are not, grandparents are not staying with the children, grandchildren. So it's become more and more difficult for parents to keep a watch on their children. So that's why even parents are concerned that how to control the gadgets, how to control the mobile phone. So if we will restrict the use of mobile phone, at least during school hours, that is from say 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. till 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. That is almost 6 to 7 hours. then at least there will be some control. Because nowadays, see what happens prior to COVID, all the homework and everything used to come in the calendar and the homework notebook. But now after COVID, everything went online and schools started creating WhatsApp group. They have started, which is now also they are using, many schools are using that, and they are sending homeworks through WhatsApp and other online medium. So children are used to it, and parents have no other option but to give mobile phone, that too a smartphone, to their child, so that he will be connected with the school. And it's not only some private school, even there are some aided schools where I got to know my maid son and her daughter studies in a school, a low budget school. There also they are saying that all the homework comes in that mobile phone only. So that we should stop. And as far as parents are concerned, I think there is more of awareness should be there among parents. Many parents are not aware only what their child is up to. They have to keep a watch what their children are doing with the mobile phones, because many students and small children, young children, are now addicted to mobile phone. They are using lot of they are sharing lot of personal information on various platforms, be it Instagram. Many kids are on Instagram. So there has to be some control from parent side, as well as a regulation is must in our country now.
Okay. Regulation, monitoring, and of course, restrictions posed for the child's online usage. I'm afraid I'm short of time right now, but I want to give the last quick word to Priyansh. Priyansh, we're all here listening to you. What's that one thing you would want from all of us as adults to help all of you children not get into that zone where you are being hugely affected by the negative effects of the online world?
I think the best course of action for each parent is something that my parents follow. It is to regulate the time that we use technology. In this modern era, we know that technology is like the root of the tree. It will help every business enterprise grow, and it will help us to be rich and a good person in the future. Technology should be understood by us, but we should not overuse it. I wish for every parent to let the children know the goods and the evil of technology and focus on the goods. The goods of technology are vast, but the evils are as well.
All right.
And I would
Yeah.
like to thank
Yeah.
my principal, Ms. Jyoti Arora. She gave us students the confidence to make the right choice. This confidence given by parents and our principals and our
Okay.
teachers will help us to be better people. It will help us to not get affected by the evils of technology and use it for a better world. Thank you.
Sure, as much as it is an advice for the children, I think all of us adults can also follow it. I'm going to wrap it up here. And as they say, it's in the online world. If it is for free, it means that you are being spent. So we all have to be careful. Manos Antoninis, Priyansh Rawat, Anubha Srivastav, Preeti Oja, and Gitanjali Kumar, thank you very much for joining us tonight and sharing your perspective on this very, very important issue that concerns all of us. Thank you very much.